Hello and welcome. I'm Camila Lemia and this is Rappler Talk. In October, Valenzuela Representative Sherwin Gatchalian filed his certificate of candidacy for senator. Gatchalian is a former ally of Vice President Jojo Marbinay and is now under the senatorial slate of presidential candidate Grace Poe and her running mate Cheese Escudero. He says his 15 years of experience as city mayor and congressman would help him push for supposed true reforms on education, governance, and the economy. Joining us today is senatorial candidate Sherwin Gatchalian. Good afternoon, Senator.
Good afternoon, Camille.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, before your stint as a public servant, I read your CV.
Mm-hmm.
You worked in your family business. Ranging from mining, oil,
Right.
hotels, and
Right.
plastics. So, what made you decide to shift to politics?
Actually, when I was working in the private sector, I was exposed to a lot of private sector management style, no? Especially in making your businesses efficient and the professionalism in the private sector in this industry. And I remember when I was applying for a business permit in Valenzuela City. Applying for a business permit in this country is very taxing. It's complicated. There's you have to talk to so many people, and I told myself, we're the ones who want to invest, but how come government's the one making it very difficult for us? So that made me realize that there's a lot of need in government to improve the systems and procedures. That's why that made me decide to run in the local government of Valenzuela to change the processes, improve the system, and make it business friendly.
So, were you able to achieve that?
I think so. I think when we came in, just to give you some statistics, now when we came in, our revenue was we were collecting at 900 million pesos a year. When we left, we were pushing about 2 billion already, and the registered businesses in our city when we came in was 6,000. I think when we left, it was about 14,000. So we basically managed to double everything, no, by making the procedures simple, by automating everything and making it business friendly for our taxpayers.
So, sir, from being a mayor, you went on to become a congressman, a 3-term congressman, and now you're eyeing a Senate seat. Why a national post this time?
Camille, I've learned a lot, no, in the local government. I think I learned to face the true problems of our constituency, of our people. No?
Okay.
I've learned to also sympathize and also find the pulse of our nation. And with my 15 years of experience in local government and also in Congress, I believe that I have learned enough already to bring it to the national scale. No?
Okay.
We need to have a good grasp of the problems, and those problems can be now magnified and brought up to the national scale.
Speaking of the problems that you mentioned, you kept on saying that your main platform is education.
Yes.
What exactly about education do we need to address in this country?
Okay, we need to be competitive. No? The world is getting smaller, Camille, and globalization is already here. Everyone's pushing for ASEAN integration in this area, but we're not ready. But we, just a few weeks ago, there's an agriculture deficit in our country. We're importing more than we're exporting in terms of agriculture produce. But the Philippines being an agricultural-based country, it should be the other way around. So definitely competitiveness is also eroding. In order to be competitive, we need to invest in human capital, and education is the way. One of the bills that we're pushing in Congress now is what we call the Free Higher Education Act. It's basically going to make tuition fee free in all state universities and colleges. It looks parang imposible, no? But if we run the numbers, you only need about 12 billion pesos, no, to make it free in all state universities and colleges. The budget for next year is about 3 trillion pesos. So 12 billion is only 0.04%, no, of the total budget. So kayang-kaya na.
But sir, what is the current stage of that bill?
It's approved in the committee level, and since we're talking about budget here, so we have to go through the Committee on Appropriations. I think even though it's not going to be approved this Congress, we want it to be talked about, especially during this time, no, when election is just around the corner. We want it to be a campaign issue or a campaign agenda.
Yeah.
No? So I think that bill can really transform the education system here in our country.
Sir, we got a question here from social media from Nico Yosores. What advice can you give to those students who will be affected by the K-12 system, since we're talking about education now?
Actually, for me, the negative effects are short-term. No? The additional 2 years is really an investment for the future of our kids. We're talking about additional technical and vocational studies in grade 11, grade 12. These studies are being paid for right now if you apply for a Tech Voc certificate. But in the K-12, these are free. No? So, meaning when they graduate high school, they can either start their own businesses or they can either find work. And this certification, no, in NC1 and NC2 certification, are very valuable certification in these times because people are looking for additional skills from our workforce.
What will be on your legislative agenda if you win as senator?
I think my primary legislative agenda will be on education. And when I was a mayor in Valenzuela, we put a lot of focus on education, basic education and also higher education. And I learned a lot, me personally. When you work in the local government, you basically have daily exposure to public education, and this is where you learn the true problems of our nation. And one of the bills now we're really pushing is to make higher education free.
But sir, education is such a broad scope.
Yes.
What exactly about education do you target in your first 6 years if you win as senator?
Okay, I think actually it will not even take 6 years. No, if the Free Higher Education Act will be approved, we will see radical reform in higher education. We will see increased in student enrollment. There are about 10 million kids, aged from 17 to 25, who are not in school right now. And if you break down this 10 million, almost 70% of them will tell you because they don't have the capability or the financial capability to go to school. So meaning only 2 out of 10 kids are studying. So if your economy grows, as we will see right now, it's hard to take advantage of that growth if you don't have skilled workforce. It's very difficult. What we will get now are blue collar, even non-value-added work for our country.
So aside from tertiary education, what are your plans for basic education? Because you said as city mayor, you did like free lunches for grade school students in public schools.
Right. In Valenzuela, a lot of our basic education problems are quite basic, to be honest about it. Malnutrition is related to the capability of the family to feed their kids. Of course, you have the perennial classroom, perennial textbook. But what we also want is to strengthen the critical thinking of our public school children. Meaning, invest in math and science, invest in innovation. We filed a bill that will expand math and science school all over the nation. Right now, we only have about 40 math and science schools all over the nation. So even though you have kids, very smart kids in Mindanao, they have to go to the cities to hone their math and science skills. And we all know that math and science is a basic requirement for innovation and basic requirement for critical thinking.
We can't talk about education without discussing teachers. So what are your plans for our teachers?
Well, earlier I got a text from our legislative staff that we filed a bill to increase the salaries of the teachers from, I think, salary grade 12 to salary grade 18. And that has been tucked into the new SSL law. So eventually it's been approved. But I think if you talk to teachers, and one of their requirement is to get trained, and continuously hone their teaching skills. If you look at other advanced countries, they invest, I think, about 40 hours to minimum of 40 hours a year on training. Ours is, I don't think we invest anything on continuous training of our teachers. So there must be some minimum training for our teachers in order to hone their teaching skills, in order to improve themselves in terms of teaching our kids.
So just to clarify, you're in favor of the K-12
I'm in favor of the K-12.
because?
For three reasons, Camille. One, there are only 3 countries in the world that are not K-12. One of them is the Philippines, 2 are African countries. Number 2, we have to continuously reform our curriculum. And for a very, very long time, I think almost 20 years, we haven't reformed our curriculum. This is the first time we will have massive reform or massive change in our curriculum. The third is the tech-voc component, which I mentioned before, that this is already tucked in also, or part of the component of the K-12. Right now, it's separate, but now it's part of the curriculum.
And the third one?
That's the third one, yeah.
Okay, what's your stand on the Freedom of Information Bill?
This has been talked about and promised a long time ago. I think 6 years ago, the Aquino administration promised to push the FOI in Congress. And I think part of the anti-corruption drive, and part of the accountability, making public servants accountability is FOI. Unfortunately, until now, it's not approved yet. And I truly believe that if you want to institutionalize the fight against corruption and put more tools, including making public servants like us accountable to the public, FOI is very important. Because when you pass that, then all of these things, accountability, anti-corruption drive will be institutional. And it's now upon the public servant to be transparent to our populace.
Sir, the FOI has always been passed in the Senate, but the problem lies with the House of Representatives. You as a congressman, a 3-term congressman, what have you done to pass the FOI bill?
Well, it's within our party, the NPC, we talked about this a lot. And in fact, the position of the NPC is to support the FOI. So I think as a congressman who is part of the NPC, we are now doing our part to push it as far as we can. But this is also dependent on the leadership. I'm sure you know that the leadership of the House also dictates the tempo of which bills to be pushed and which bills are suspended or left behind. So I think the NPC has done its part to push this as far as they can.
What about divorce? What's your stand on divorce?
Camille, I believe in the sanctity of marriage, and I believe that we have to strengthen the basic unit of the family as the basic unit of our country. However, there are extreme cases of violence happening around our country, extreme cases of abuse also. And we have to also open ourselves to this type of abuse and violence. And we have to give the spouse, whether it's the man or the woman, the ability to move on and do what's best for themselves.
So is that a yes or a no?
I think it's going to be, it's going to be what we call a limited divorce. I don't believe in a no-fault divorce. That you can just one day wake up and separate from your partner. We believe that there has to be concrete reasons and concrete evidence to be able to do that.
What about gay rights and gay marriage, for instance?
I think the Philippines is not ready for gay marriage yet.
Why?
I think we need to talk about this more, and it's good that a lot of countries are already talking about this. And but I believe in equal opportunity to all, everyone, especially in employment, especially in other rights that may be shared to the LGBT community. Yeah.
What about charter change?
I think there's a push now in Congress to amend the economic provisions of the Constitution. I am for the amendment of the economic provisions of the Constitution, but I am against the ownership of land by foreign entities.
So what do you want?
Only the economic provisions. These are the ownership of land is totally independent from the economic provisions. Yeah. The ownership of land can be discussed entirely separate from the economic provisions. And I believe that land ownership will have long-term negative consequences to our farmers, to our agriculture. We've seen this in many cases in Africa, many cases in South America, wherein they allowed foreigners to own big tracts of land. And eventually the farmers were pushed out. They came to the cities, but when they came to the cities, there's no jobs. No? So in the long run, it's detrimental to our agriculture sector.
How about Bangsamoro Basic Law? The
Camille,
current version, sir.
I believe, I support a new framework, Camille. And I really believe that the old framework is not working for obvious reasons. No? And however, we have to make sure that this new framework will contain strong check and balances, will contain fairness, no? Within and outside of the territorial of the Muslim Mindanao areas. And what is important now is not to repeat what has happened in the past. No? Giving more authority, power, and wealth, we have to make sure that the check and balances are there, or else we will just repeat what happened in the past.
So the present status or the present form of the bill, you won't vote for it?
Actually, Camille, the present form is moving. I mean, I've been keeping track of this closely, and it's changing constantly. You know, so it's very hard to say with finality now unless we see it on the floor. No, and the Senate version is also a totally different version. So we don't really know what will happen when it gets to the bicameral committee.
What do you think of the conditional cash transfer program?
It's too early to say. No. But if you look at the numbers right now, I think last week SWS released 3 figures: no, hunger, poverty, hunger, and food poor. And if you look at the numbers from 2010 to 2015, no, on these 3 aspects: hunger, poverty, and food poor, it's stagnated. And there's a policy flaw, no, in attacking poverty right now. But I think the conditional cash transfer is only one of the many policies. No? And it's too early to say now if the 4 Ps is ineffective or not, because it's a suite of anti-poverty measures.
What do you think about the traffic and the poor mass transport system here in Metro Manila?
Well, I think in general, we need to increase investment in mass transit. I remember, Camille, when I was a mayor, the World Bank sponsored us to go to Bogota and Curitiba in Brazil. No? And they were pushing for the bus rapid transit. It's cheaper, it's easier to implement, and they will lend us the money to implement it. It's fairly easy to launch. No? It will take, I think, only 20% of the time to launch a overhead system. But the new administration totally scrapped it. I think if we push for that, then we will see a lot of improvement in terms of moving people from point A to point B. Sayang, no? That is a good mode of transportation that is fit to our metropolis.
Sir, what do you think of political dynasties?
I really think, Camille, it's an offshoot of a weak political party system in our country. I think we need to strengthen the political party system first in our country. As you can see right now, medyo magulo, no, yung nangyari in this election. You have multiple parties, you have multiple candidates within one party. You have the national party that is contradicting the local party. Medyo magulo, no? I think we need to settle this first, and we need to we need to strengthen our political party from top to bottom. Strengthening it will also improve solidarity and unity among the populace. Medyo naging magulo na sa taong bayan, and it's now becoming more on a personality-based politics. So if we want to erase patronage, then you have to strengthen first the political party system.
But sir, do you consider yourself a part of a political dynasty?
I won't deny I am, no. But we're if you have generational categories, we're first generation because our family is not really into politics. As you mentioned, we're into business, and right now that I have brothers who are working in government. But I think in my experience in politics, it's really vested on the people, the power to choose their leaders. And we've campaigned honestly. We've campaigned within the rules of COMELEC. We didn't harass anyone. We didn't do anything to get their votes. What we show them is our platform and what we can do for Valenzuela.
But will you vote for an anti-dynasty law?
It depends what form. It really depends what form. Like the BBL, it changes, and the negotiations and also the debates are really intense when it comes to this.
What are your apprehensions with the anti-dynasty law?
I think we have to put forth first a political party reform bill, no? And that's what we have been working in the past few months already. I think if we strengthen the political party reform, if we strengthen the political party, let the parties choose their candidates. No, if it's going to be families, if it's going to be same last names, then bahala na the parties. As long as these candidates are capable and they pass through a very rigid process of demonstrating their capability and their platform.
I'm just curious, sir, how would you define a political dynasty?
It really depends, you know. Even the
What do you personally, sir?
But even the definition is also changing, no. Sometimes they would say, it varies on the degrees, it varies on the geographic presence of these dynasties. It really depends, you know. So, like I said, no, the debates are very intense with this bill, and the definition changes also as the debates go along. So, let's see what happens.
Sir, next question is from the social media. This one is from Mrs. Unlawyer. Why was such a fire hazard of a building that violated so many provisions of the building code not cited and allowed to continue operating?
I guess they're referring to Kentex. Okay, this is where the technicalities will come in, and in the eyes of the public, no, there's only one responsible person, the mayor, no. Anything that happens in your jurisdiction is the mayor's liability. But when you look at the technicalities, the fire department is not under the local government. It's a totally separate department. And the fire department approves the fire safety component of your building, as well as your fire fighting capability. You know? So it's really a separate unit altogether. You know? And that's where the technicality comes in. It's hard for local governments not to blame the fire department, but it's really a separate responsibility.
So can you give us an update on the Kentex case now, and what laws should we avoid?
Actually, one of the laws that I've passed early on, no, when I came to Congress because of this experience, is to put the fire department under the local government unit. Make the mayor accountable to the fire safety as well as the response, no, in case of emergency of the fire department. Because responsibility naman talaga ng mayor yan, no? The mayor has jurisdiction over his territory. So let him be accountable when a fire happens para wala nang turuan in the future.
Sir, your father is called the Plastic King. And what is your stand on the effect of plastics on the environment? We understand that many cities have already passed ordinance banning the use of plastics, and I understand Valenzuela is not one of them.
Camille, I'll be a hypocrite, no, if I will say that plastic is not a major component of our local economy. 80% of the plastic manufacturers of the entire nation is in Valenzuela. No, the factories that produce the plastic chairs, the plastic pipes, yung mga plastic bags are all made in Valenzuela. So curbing plastic is effectively curbing employment in Valenzuela. So I believe that let's look at the real cause of pollution, which is the user. No? And I think we should penalize people who are irresponsible in the use of plastic and other materials. No? Plastic is not naman the only component or the only material that clogs up our drainages and other infrastructure projects. No, it's really many materials, and we have to penalize the user, not the material.
So, sir, don't you see a conflict of interest because your family is one of the major plastic manufacturers?
Actually, hindi to alam ng tao, no? But we've been out of the plastic business since 1998. After the 97 crisis, no, manufacturing in our country became a very difficult industry. Ano, it's not only, hindi naman lang kami, no, but a lot of manufacturing companies shut down. No? Interest rates went up, therefore your working capital now is very expensive. So a lot of factories shut down, I think late 90s to early 2000. And we're one of them, unfortunately. So there's no conflict of interest in terms of plastic and our family.
Yeah. Sir, some businessmen run for politics to protect their interests. So the question now is, you came from a family of businessmen and you shifted to politics. So why did you and your brothers run for politics, for elective posts?
I think what our driving force and our motivation is to bring change. No? And being from Valenzuela, we've seen the opportunity to contribute to the local government. I've only run one term in Congress in 2001. Then I went to mayor right away. Because being a mayor gives you the opportunity to deliver change within City Hall, the way you transact with your constituents, the way you run City Hall. It gave me an opportunity to fight corruption, to professionalize it, and to make it just like any private sector institution. I think that's our main motivation. And we don't have any operating businesses in Valenzuela, so there's nothing to protect actually.
Sir, what happened to Plastic City? Because I heard you're selling it to like Ayala companies.
The land remained there, and we have a joint venture with the Ayalas, no? And Ayalas being one of the major housing developer in our country, I think it made more sense to JV with them. No?
Sir, since the Gatchalians are now entrenched in Valenzuela, what are the lessons that you learned from other families that control, like, for decades, a certain city? Say, the Binays. What were
Actually,
the lessons you learned?
Camille, talaga, kung alam mo kung ano natutunan ko, sa politika walang forever. No, you cannot ingrain in your mind that you'll be in politics forever. Public service is an opportunity that presents itself, and you just make full use of that opportunity to create change. I don't believe I don't believe that I've ingrained in myself that I will be in politics forever. No, it's as long as the people appreciate and like our service, then we will stay on. But if the people say that, look, there's somebody better, there's a new guy here who can do a better job, then we just have to accept that.
For 2016, you're running for the Senate. Your brother Rex, is he running for re-election?
He's running for re-election.
And Wes?
He's running in my district, in District 1.
Okay.
Yes.
So the other, you have your four brothers,
yes.
right? What happened to him?
The other one is in the business. He's helping my family.
Okay. Since we mentioned the Binays earlier, I'm just curious now. Before you were considered an ally of Vice President Binay, and you were even considered the part of the initial lineup.
Actually, I'm still a friend of the Binays. No?
What happened?
Camille, I've been with NPC since 2001, and I told myself if I joined politics, I would want to stay in one party lang from the start to the end. And NPC has been very, very good to me personally. They've been supportive of my bills. They've been supportive of my programs. And when my brother joined politics, they've been very supportive of my brother. So there's no reason to leave NPC. And I've been very loyal and a good team player to the NPC. And when NPC decided to open the doors to other candidates, I have to heed to the decision of the party. So in that case, the majority of the NPC members are supporting the candidacy of Senator Grace and Senator Cheese. No? Therefore, I have to listen to the party's decision.
But I remember Representative Marco Angco is a supporter of Binay, and at the same time, he's also a member of the NPC. So
Yes.
I don't think there's a
But
strict.
well, actually, he
notice.
made a qualifying statement at the end, that he will support the decision of the NPC, especially him being the son of the founding chairman. No? I think Mark has really demonstrated his personality as a good NPC member, as well as an example to all. No? So he made a very strong qualifying statement at the end that if the NPC will decide, or the NPC decides to go with whoever, he will heed to the decision of the party.
Are the corruption allegations against the Vice President and his family a major factor in your decision to jump ship?
I think, well, actually, I didn't jump ship, kasi nasa NPC pa rin ako. I think let's wait for, that the courts are talking about it. They've filed cases already. I mean, there's so many cases being filed and being heard. Let's wait for that. I think, like you and all of us, we want to know the truth. And I think it's really for the betterment of the Vice President himself and for us to know what really happened.
But how's the relationship between you and the Vice President?
Okay naman,
now?
he birthday niya today. I sent him a birthday letter. And personally, there's nothing, there's no bad blood between us. He understands that I'm part of a party, and I've been very, very loyal to the party. In fact, if you look at the votation of NPC, I've been very cooperative to the party, as well as I've been also sharing a lot of my ideas to the party. And if I will file a bill, which I will file a bill soon on party reform, then I should be the one setting a good example on how parties should operate. And mahirap naman mag-file ka ng party reform, but you're also not doing your own obligation to your party.
Yeah. Why did you move to Grace Po?
That's where NPC is going. Or that's where NPC is
So are you
done.
saying now that NPC is going to endorse the candidacy of Po Escudero? Because you said NPC is going there.
Camille, we've been, a lot of the majority of the NPC members are supporting Grace Po and Senator Cheese. And I've said this in the past, that NPC will eventually formally endorse them. There are requests from our different party mates to delay it a bit, but eventually we will go there.
Why the need for a delay, sir?
Well, politics, the realities of politics, Camille, in the Philippines is a lot of our mayors, NPC mayors, would want to delay this because it's already end of the year, and the mayors really depend on the national government for specific projects for their constituency, and they don't want politics to be as the reason for the delay of their projects and for the delay of whatever they're doing in their own locality. So the NPC mayors requested that let all of these projects be implemented first before we go and endorse the candidacy of Senator Grace formally.
So does this mean there's pressure from the administration?
Oh,
Because-
definitely.
From whom?
It's hard to tell. It's hard to pinpoint exactly whom, but definitely this is politics, and I think a lot of our members are also afraid, that if they support the candidacy of Senator Grace and Cheese, they might also feel the pressure of politics, both maybe filing of cases or other pressure points that will be against them.
Why do you think Grace Po will win in 2016?
I've been looking at Senator Grace from the outside, and she brings in freshness, and she brings in a lot of new ideas, to government. And just like me from the private sector, when I was coming in, I had a lot of ideas from the private sector, and that's what I see in her. And I think that's what we need, someone who will bring in a totally different dimension, to change the country. For me, I don't think continuing existing programs or continuing what we are doing now will radically transform the country. It's not. We have to have a really big shift in terms of policy and in terms of innovation.
Meaning, you're not satisfied with the present programs?
Alam mo, Camille, it's hard to ask based on my opinion. I look at numbers. If you look at poverty rates, the SWS poverty rates is still at 50%, the same as where we started. If you look at the food poor rates, it's at 35%, the same as where we started. If you look at the hunger rates, it's still at 15%. Same as where we started. So, you ask opinion based on this statistics, and if you look at the statistics, then there's no compelling reason to continue what we are doing right now. We have to have radical reforms.
Is it a concern for you, a cause of concern for you, that Grace Poe might be disqualified and you might end up with a slate that has no standard bearer?
NPC studied this carefully, and we have a lot of lawyers and a lot of long-time politicians in our party, and we studied this carefully. And NPC believes that she will overcome these cases, and that's why a lot of the members support the candidacy of Senator Grace.
What do you think? Now that you're with Senator Grace Poe, what do you think are the chances of Vice President Binay for the 2016 presidential race?
Again, Camille, if you look at the numbers, Senator Grace is still leading, but the movements are quite erratic, and I really believe right now that it's very hard to say with certainty who will win. Of course, the Senator Grace has an advantage, but you have to keep that advantage, and it really depends how she will campaign and what she will say in the next 6 months. We have 6 months to go. So how to maintain that lead is also a very big challenge. And yun ang nakakatakot, because whatever you say, whatever you do, it might affect those numbers.
What do you think will be the key difference between the 2010 presidential elections and the 2016 polls?
Iba ito. Ang daming kandidato. You have 4 or 5 major presidential candidates. You have I think 5 or 6 vice presidential candidates. You have multi-party system shifting very fluidly. You have national parties supporting local parties. You have local parties support. Medyo magulo ito. So unlike before, it's quite clear cut. But right now, it's very fluid, and that's also one reason why a lot of local politicians are not so vocal yet, because things are moving quite fast.
Sir, is Grace Poe's high survey standards or survey ratings a factor in your decision to join her slate?
The factor really is, for me personally, and I'll be honest, the factor is really NPC. And like I said, I'm a party man, and NPC has been good to me personally, and I think I have to respect that. And I truly believe that the country needs a radical political party reform, and it has to start with me, and I have to demonstrate that.
Sir, for our last question, we got this from a social media user from Twitter at 2016 Poll Watch, and he's asking you if you are in favor of federalism. Why or why not?
Again, kasi when you say federalism, the first thing that comes to mind is fiscal autonomy. But federalism is more than fiscal autonomy. You have political autonomy, you have administrative control over certain departments. You have more than fiscal autonomy. But of course, the biggest selling point is, you have more funds and you can do more things. But again, the federal form, if you look at different countries, Camille, the federal form has different forms also. So it depends what really suits us. And nobody has really presented the detailed plan for a federal form of government. So we have to wait for that, or else baka we are just looking at the entire theory, but it's not fit naman for our country. I think what is important here, Camille, is for me, no, beyond the political system is really economics. We have to create jobs, we have to grow the economy, we have to have the workforce that can sustain that economy. That's what's important for me. So what's important right now is you have the workforce that are smart, capable, innovative. So when our economy grows, they can come in and sustain the economy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We've been speaking to senatorial candidate Sherwin Gatchalian on education, business, and politics. I'm Camille Alamia. Thank you for watching.